Imagine waking up one morning and discovering that your city, your street, your entire life has been split in half overnight. Families torn apart. Friends separated. A giant wall rising through the heart of your home, guarded by soldiers with orders to shoot. This is not a movie. This happened, and it changed the world. Today, we dive deep into the shocking rise and dramatic fall of the Berlin Wall, a symbol of fear, conflict, and ultimately, freedom. Chapter 1: The World After World War II. When World War II ended in 1945, Germany lay in ruins. Entire cities were destroyed, millions were homeless, and the world's major powers were deciding the future of Europe. The Allies, the United States, the Soviet Union, Britain, and France agreed that Germany needed to be controlled to prevent another war. So they divided Germany into 4 occupation zones. And right in the middle of Soviet-controlled East Germany lay the city of Berlin. Even Berlin itself was split into 4 zones. This division might have looked temporary, but it became the front line of a new conflict. The Cold War. The Soviet Union wanted communist control. The Western Allies wanted democracy and capitalism. Berlin became the ultimate symbol of this ideological battle. Single city, where 2 competing worlds lived side by side. Chapter 2: East versus West. 2 Germanys, 2 worlds. By 1949, the differences were impossible to ignore. The Western zones merged into a new country. West Germany, Federal Republic of Germany. The Soviet zone became East Germany, German Democratic Republic. West Germany enjoyed Western aid, investment, and rebuilding programs like the Marshall Plan. Life improved quickly. East Germany, however, struggled under the Soviet economic system. Factories were taken, resources shipped to Moscow, and freedoms were restricted. The difference was so big that East Germans began leaving in massive numbers. And where did they go? Berlin. East Berliners simply walked across to West Berlino. Passport, no permission. Doctors, engineers, teachers, students, people with skills that East Germany desperately needed were disappearing every day. Between 1949 and 1961, nearly 3 million East Germans fled to the West. It was an embarrassing crisis for the East German government. So they came up with a drastic solution. Chapter 3: August 13th, 1961. The night the world changed at midnight. On August 13th, while Berliners slept, East German soldiers began rolling out barbed wire across the entire border between East and West Berlin. Roads were closed. Railways were cut. Families suddenly found themselves on opposite sides. People woke up and saw soldiers everywhere, armed, alert, and deadly serious. Within hours, the barbed wire was replaced with concrete. Berliners were trapped, shocked, and terrified. The Berlin Wall had been born. Imagine standing at a window, watching your wife or your brother just a few meters away but completely unreachable. Imagine seeing guards who had orders to shoot anyone trying to cross. This was not just a wall, it was a prison. Chapter 4: Life Behind the Wall. The wall soon became more than a single line of concrete. It evolved into a massive, fortified system. 12-foot concrete walls, electric fences, watchtowers, floodlights, guard dogs, anti-vehicle trenches, landmines in some areas, armed guards, and the death strip crossing the wall was almost impossible. Yet people still tried. They dug tunnels. They made homemade hot air balloons. Some rammed vehicles into the wall. Some swam across rivers at night. Over the 28 years of the Berlin Wall, more than 5,000 people managed to escape. But many did not. It's estimated that 142 over 200 people were killed trying to cross. The most heartbreaking was Peter Fechter, an 18-year-old boy shot in 1962. He bled to death near the wall while West Berliners watched helplessly from the other side. His death symbolized the cruelty of the system. The world was watching and the world was angry. Chapter 5: The Wall becomes a global symbol. The Berlin Wall wasn't just a German issue. It represented the entire Cold War. On one side, freedom, democracy, capitalism. On the other, communism, oppression, control. In 1963, U.S. President John F. Kennedy visited West Berlin and delivered one of the most famous speeches of the Cold War. Ich bin ein Berliner, Yama Berliner. His message was clear. The West would not abandon Berlin. In 1987, another U.S. President, Ronald Reagan, stood at the Brandenburg Gate and made a historic demand. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. The world felt the tension. The wall had become an icon, cold, menacing, unbreakable. But something unexpected was happening behind the scenes. Chapter 6. The Cold War begins to thaw by the mid-1980s. The Soviet Union was weakening. Its economy was collapsing, and its influence was shrinking. Then came a new leader, Mikhail Gorbachev. He introduced reforms, glasnost, openness. He also made it clear that the Soviet Union would no longer use force to control Eastern Europe. Suddenly, communist governments across Europe began falling like dominoes. Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, Romania, East Germany felt the pressure. People were protesting in the streets. They wanted freedom, travel rights, democracy. On November 9th, 1989, everything changed, and no one saw it coming. Chapter 7, November 9th, 1989. The wall falls that evening. An East German official, Schabowski, mistakenly announced on live television that travel restrictions were lifted effective immediately. He did not mean it literally, but the people did. Crowds rushed to the border checkpoints. Thousands and thousands of people gathered, demanding to pass through. The guards were confused. They had no new orders. They were heavily outnumbered. Just before midnight, overwhelmed and unsure what to do, the guards did the unimaginable. They opened the gates. East Germans poured through. Families reunited. People cried, hugged, celebrated, danced, and climbed the wall itself. Hammers and chisels appeared. People began tearing the wall apart with their own hands. The world watched as the symbol of division crumbled. Freedom had won. The Berlin Wall, once the most feared barrier in Europe, was now just broken pieces of concrete, falling under the weight of hope. Chapter 8. A new Germany, a new Europe. The fall of the Berlin Wall wasn't just the end of a barrier. It was the beginning of a new era. Less than a year later, on October 3rd, 1990, East and West Germany officially Germany became whole again after 45 years. Berlin became the capital of a united country. Businesses grew, families healed, and Europe reshaped itself into the peaceful union we know today. But pieces of the wall still stand, silent reminders of how quickly freedom can be taken away, and how hard people must fight to win it back. Chapter 9. Why the Berlin Wall matters today. The Berlin Wall is more than history. It is a lesson, a warning, a story of resilience. It reminds us that freedom is fragile. Division destroys lives. And no wall, no matter how tall, can hold back the human desire for liberty. This is the legacy of the Berlin Wall, a past the world must never forget. If you enjoyed this video history, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you never miss another video. Comment below which historical event should we cover next.